My sister called me crying, saying she was living in her car with her 2 kids, and I believed her. We're close. We talk almost every day. So when she called me that Wednesday night, voice shaking, telling me she'd lost her job and couldn't afford rent anymore, I didn't hesitate. I told her I would help. I'm 34. I work in IT. I make decent money. Not rich, but comfortable. My sister Sarah is 31. She's always been the one who needs help. She dropped out of college, moved around a lot, made some bad choices with guys. I've loaned her money before, never got it back, but I didn't really expect to. She's family. So I told her I'd give her $2,000, enough to get her caught up on rent and buy groceries for the month. She cried. She said I was saving her life. She said her kids would have a bed to sleep in because of me. I transferred the money that night. 3 days later, I was having dinner with my mom. Just casual dinner, nothing special. My mom mentioned that she'd seen Sarah at the mall. At the mall, the same day Sarah told me she was living in her car. I felt something flip in my stomach. I didn't say anything to my mom, but I texted Sarah. I asked her how the apartment hunt was going. She said she was still looking. I asked her where she was staying. She said she was in a motel. So I called her. I didn't text. I called. Hey, what's up? She answered, all casual. Sarah, I need to know the truth right now. Are you actually homeless? There was a long pause. Then she said, why are you asking me that? Because mom saw you at the mall. You told me you were living in your car. Now you're saying you're in a motel. I need to know what's actually going on. Another pause. Then she got mad. You know what? I can't believe you're interrogating me. I'm clearly going through something, and you're making it about whether I'm telling the truth. You lied to me, Sarah. I didn't lie. I wasn't ready to tell you the full situation. So where's the money? Where is the $2,000 I just gave you? She didn't answer for a few seconds. Then she said, I used it to catch up on some stuff. What stuff? Debt. I had some credit card debt. I felt something break inside me. You told me you were living in your car. You told me your kids were sleeping in a car. You made me feel like I needed to save your life, and you used the money for credit card debt. You don't understand how stressed I was. I understand that you lied to me. I understand that you manipulated me. She started crying again. I didn't mean to. I needed help and I didn't know how to ask. You could have just asked. You could have said I have credit card debt and I need help. Instead you told me a story about your kids living in a car. So what do you want me to do? You want the money back? I don't have it. My mom called me and said I was being too harsh. She said Sarah is struggling and I should show more compassion. My brother texted me and asked if I could just forgive her and move on. Even my dad reached out and said that maybe I overreacted. But here's what I can't get past. She didn't just lie. She created a story designed to make me feel like I had to help. She used her kids. She knew that would get to me. And when I gave her the money, she used it for something she could have been honest about from the start. I'm not angry about the money anymore. I'm angry about the manipulation. I'm angry that she looked me in the eye over the phone and told me her kids were sleeping in a car. So am I the a-hole for cutting her off over this? Everyone keeps saying I should just let it go. But I feel like if I do, she'll just do it again. To me, or to someone else. My ex-boss stole 3 years of my code and sold it to a major company. I had the receipts, so I handed them to the FBI. Let me back up. I'm a software engineer. I've been coding since I was 12. By the time I was 28, I built something special, a platform that made medical billing way faster. Like hospitals could save thousands of hours a month using this thing. I worked at a mid-sized tech company called Dataflow Systems. My boss was this guy named Richard Chen. He was 45, always press nice, always talking about how he built the company from nothing. He had this thing where he'd take credit for everything his team did, but I didn't care too much. I just wanted to code. Then one day I saw a news article. A huge hospital network called Medcare Solutions had just announced they were using a new billing platform. The platform was called Rapid Bill. The CEO of Medcare was talking about how amazing it was, how it was built by Richard Chen's company, Dataflow Systems. My stomach dropped. That was my code. That was the exact platform I built. I went to Richard's office. Hey, did we sell Rapid Bill to Medcare? He smiled. Yeah, great news, right? Huge contract. $5 million. That's my platform, I said. I wrote that code, every line of it. He leaned back in his chair. You wrote it while working here. That makes it company property. And I'm the CEO, so it's my deal to make. But you're taking credit for building it. You didn't write a single line. I built the company that made it possible. That counts. He turned back to his computer. You're welcome for the job, by the way. I left his office shaking. I had copies of everything. Every commit I made. Every email where I explained what I was building. Every chat message where I asked other team members for help with specific parts. I had timestamps. I had proof. But here's the thing. Richard had already made the deal. Medcare had signed a contract. Dataflow was getting paid $5 million, and Richard was probably getting a huge bonus. I called a lawyer. She told me the same thing. It's murky. He's right that code written for a company belongs to the company, but the way he's representing himself as the creator, that might be fraud. So what do? You could sue, but lawsuits are expensive, and Richard will just say you were part of a team. I thought about it for 3 days, then I made a decision. I gathered everything, every single line of code I wrote with timestamps, every email, every Slack message, every file with metadata showing when I created it. I made a folder. I organized it perfectly. Then I called the FBI's white-collar crime tip line. I explained the situation. I explained that Richard Chen had misrepresented himself as the creator of software he didn't write, that he fraudulently sold it to a major company, that he was profiting off stolen work. They asked me to send everything. I did. 2 weeks later, I got a call from an FBI agent. They were opening an investigation. They'd already contacted Medcare. They'd already contacted Dataflow's board of directors. Then things moved fast. Medcare sued Dataflow for fraud. They wanted their $5 million back. Dataflow's board fired Richard immediately and launched their own investigation. They found out he'd done this before, taken credit for code he didn't write, sold projects as his own ideas. The FBI arrested Richard at his house on a Friday morning. Wire fraud, theft of intellectual property, securities fraud, because Dataflow was planning to go public, and Richard had lied about his work. He ended up taking a plea deal, 18 months in federal prison. He had to pay back the $5 million to Medcare. He had to pay restitution to me. And his name got dragged through every tech news outlet. Disgraced CEO, sentenced for stealing employees' code, was the headline. Dataflow offered me a settlement, $200,000, a public apology, and they told me I could take my code with me. It was mine now. I quit 2 weeks later, started my own company, used my code, built it bigger. Richard's still in prison. He gets out next year. His wife left him. His kids won't talk to him. His career is over. And I'm doing just fine. My sister called me crying and said she had stage 3 cancer. I dropped everything to help her. 6 months later, I found out she was lying the whole time. Let me back up. My sister Emma is 2 years younger than me. We've always been close, but she's had money problems forever. Like, serious money problems. She's been fired from 3 jobs in the last 4 years. Always says it's not her fault. She owes credit card companies probably 50 grand. Last year she asked me to co-sign a loan. I said no because I knew she wouldn't pay it back. She got mad, but we moved on. Then in March, she called me at work. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. She said she found a lump. She said the doctors did a biopsy, and it came back bad. Stage 3 breast cancer. She said she needed to start chemo right away, and she was scared and alone, and didn't know what to do. I literally left work in the middle of the day. I drove to her apartment and held her while she cried. I told her I would help her with anything she needed. Anything. So for 6 months, I drove her to chemo appointments twice a week. I sat in waiting rooms for hours. I helped her deal with the side effects. I brought her food she could actually eat when nothing else sounded good. I took time off work. I spent money on gas, parking, meals. My husband was supportive, but we both knew this was taking a toll on us. The worst part was watching her lose her hair. She shaved her head before it started falling out. She looked so small and fragile. I felt like I was watching her disappear. But then something weird happened. Around month 5, she started looking better, like way better. Her energy came back. She stopped complaining about nausea. I thought maybe the chemo was actually working, and I was so happy. Then in September, I ran into our cousin at the grocery store, Sarah. She pulled me aside and asked how Emma was doing. I told her about the cancer, and how she was finally starting to feel better. Sarah looked confused. She said, "Wait, what cancer?" My stomach dropped. I asked what she meant. Sarah said Emma had posted on Facebook 2 weeks ago about going to Vegas for a girls' weekend. Sarah said she'd seen photos of Emma at clubs, dancing, drinking. Sarah said if Emma was in the middle of chemo, how was she well enough to party like that? I didn't want to believe it. I went home and found Emma's Instagram that she thought I didn't know about. And there she was. Vegas. Beach photos, looking completely healthy, laughing, no wig, no signs of illness at all. I called her immediately. "Emma, I need you to explain the Vegas photos." There was silence. Then she said, "What are you talking about?" "The photos from 2 weeks ago. You're dancing. You look fine. You told me you had stage 3 cancer." More silence. Then she said, "I can explain." "You better." She admitted everything. She never had cancer. She made it up because she needed money, and she knew I wouldn't give it to her unless something was really wrong. She said she was sorry. She said she didn't think it would go on this long. She said she felt bad. I couldn't even look at her. I told her to get out. "Come on, don't be like this. I'm still your sister. You lied about having cancer. Do you understand how sick that is?" "I know, but I'm sorry. I needed help. You needed money. You lied to manipulate me. You wasted 6 months of my life. You made me scared every single day that I was losing you." She started crying and tried to hug me. I stepped back. I told her I couldn't trust her anymore, and I didn't want to see her for a while. It's been 3 months now. She's texted me maybe 10 times, each time asking if we can talk. She even tried to come to my house for Thanksgiving, and my husband turned her away at the door. She's told other family members that I'm being cruel, and that she made one mistake, and I should forgive her. My mom called me last week and said I'm being too hard on her. She said Emma is struggling, and that families should forgive. But I can't get past what she did. Every time I think about those 6 months, I get angry all over again. So am I the a-hole for refusing to forgive her and cutting her out of my life? My ex-fiancé stole my entire inheritance while cheating on me with my best friend, and I spent 2 years making him pay in ways he'll never recover from. Let me back up. My grandma died in 2021 and left me $80,000. I was 28, engaged to Marcus for 3 years, and we were planning to buy a house. Marcus worked in tech sales making good money, but he always wanted more. When the inheritance came through, I told him right away. We talked about putting it toward the down payment on a house we'd been looking at. Here's where it gets bad. I didn't know Marcus had a gambling problem. I didn't know he'd been borrowing money from his work friends for months. I didn't know any of it. One day I'm at the bank trying to transfer $40,000 to our joint savings account for the house deposit, and the teller tells me there's nothing there. I check my personal account. Empty. All $80,000 gone. I called Marcus at work. My voice was shaking. "Where is my money?" He didn't even try to lie at first. "I needed it. I had some debts." "Debts? Debts? Marcus, that was my grandmother's money. That was supposed to be our future." I know. I was going to tell you. I was going to pay it back." "Pay it back? With what? You make $70,000 a year and you just spent $80,000 in 6 months." He got quiet. Then he said something that still makes my stomach hurt. Look, I'm sorry, but it's done. We can't fix it now. Can we just move past this? I hung up. That night I went to my best friend Sarah's apartment to tell her what happened. I needed support. When she opened the door, Marcus walked out of her bedroom pulling his shirt on. I just stood there. Sarah's face went white. It's not what it looks like, Marcus said, which is the dumbest thing anyone says when it's exactly what it looks like. How long? I asked Sarah. 4 months, she whispered. 4 months. While I was planning a wedding, while I was crying about the money, while he was lying to my face every single day. I left without saying anything else. The revenge part took planning. I'm not proud of everything I did, but I was angry in a way I've never been angry. First, I hired a lawyer and sued Marcus for the $80,000. He claimed he couldn't pay it back. The court ordered him to pay $500 a month starting immediately. That alone was going to hurt his lifestyle, but I didn't stop there. I found out Marcus was up for a promotion at his company. His boss was making the decision that month. I sent his boss a detailed email with receipts of every text, every bank statement, every piece of evidence that Marcus had been stealing company expense money for the past year. Turns out he'd been faking client dinners and pocketing the reimbursements. The company investigated and found $12,000 in fraudulent charges. Marcus got fired. I also reported his gambling to the state gaming board as a problem gambler, which got him banned from all casinos in our state. That sounds small, but Marcus had been using casino credit lines to dig himself deeper into debt. Without access, he couldn't make it worse. Then I contacted his landlord. Marcus was renting a nice apartment, and I told the landlord about the court order. The landlord was concerned about Marcus's ability to pay rent. When Marcus missed a payment 2 months later, he got evicted. Sarah's family found out about the affair when I mentioned it to her mom at the grocery store. Not on purpose, just a conversation. Sarah lost her job because she worked at her family's business, and her dad cut her off completely. Marcus moved back in with his parents in another state. Last I heard, he's working a warehouse job making $35,000 a year, still paying the court-ordered $500 a month, and living in his parents' basement at 32 years old. He had to declare bankruptcy twice because of the gambling debts and the judgment against him. I got my $80,000 back over time through the court payments, plus interest. And I got to watch the person who betrayed me lose everything he cared about. His career, his apartment, his reputation, his dignity. Was it planned? Absolutely. Do I regret it? Not for a second. I watched my sisters steal $40,000 from our dying mother, and I never said a word. Mom was in the hospital with stage 4 cancer. She had maybe 3 months left. My sister Jessica was handling her finances because Mom trusted her, and honestly, I was just trying to be there for the emotional stuff. I was 28, Jessica was 35. We had a good relationship back then. I found out by accident. I was helping Mom sort through paperwork one day, and I saw a bank statement on her nightstand. $40,000 moved to a separate account. Just gone. When I asked Mom about it, she looked confused. I don't remember that, she said. Are you sure? I was sure. So I asked Jessica directly. We were at Mom's house, and I pulled her aside in the kitchen. Why did you move 40 grand from Mom's account? She went white. For like 10 seconds she didn't say anything. It's not what you think, she finally said. Then what is it? I needed it. My marriage was falling apart. Brad was threatening to take everything, and I needed a cushion. I was going to pay her back. Mom is dying, Jessica. She's going to need that money for her medical bills, for hospice. She looked at me with this cold expression I'd never seen before. I know what I did, and I'm asking you not to tell her. It will just stress her out. She doesn't have time to deal with this, and honestly, it doesn't matter now. I should have told her right then. I should have said no, but I was scared. I was scared of conflict. I was scared of what it would do to Mom's last weeks, and I was terrified of becoming the bad guy in this story, like I was the one hurting her. So I said nothing. Mom died 6 weeks later, and I still said nothing. Jessica never paid back a dime. She got divorced and moved on. I tried to move on too, but it ate at me. Every birthday, every family thing, I'd look at her and feel sick. I think about Mom spending her last days stressed about money she didn't know was missing. I think about how Jessica stole from a dying woman and faced 0 consequences. 10 years passed, and then Mom's old friend called me. I'm writing a book about my cancer journey, she said, and I want to include a section about your mother. I'm interviewing people. Would you talk to me? When we met, she asked me about Mom's final days, and something just broke inside me. I told her everything, about the money, about Jessica, about how I covered it up. She didn't judge me, she just listened. And then she asked the question I'd been avoiding for a decade. Does Jessica know you're telling people this? No. Don't you think she should? The book came out 3 months later. Not a huge release, but it got picked up by a local news station. They did a story about it, and there in black and white in a published book was the story of how Jessica stole from our mother. She found out when her boss mentioned reading the book. I got a text that was just one line. You destroyed me. She was right. Her boss knew. Her ex-husband knew. Her kids eventually knew. She lost her job because of the scandal. She lost friendships. People looked at her differently. But here's the thing I can't explain. I don't feel guilty about her losing those things. I feel guilty about the 10 years I spent protecting her secret. I feel guilty about choosing her comfort over Mom's peace of mind. That's what eats at me. Jessica hasn't spoken to me in 2 years. My brother barely talks to me either. They think I'm cruel for letting her get exposed like that. But I think I was cruel the moment I stayed silent. My wife's been taking monthly work trips for 3 years. Last week, I found a credit card bill hidden in the garage. The charges don't match her story at all. Okay, let me back up. I'm Dave. I'm 42. My wife Sarah is 39. We've been married 14 years. We have 2 kids. Emma is 12 and Lucas is 9. Everything felt normal until about 3 months ago when Sarah's job changed. She works in marketing for a tech company. About 3 years back, she started getting these calls about client meetings that required her to travel. Once a month, sometimes twice. She'd say it was Chicago or Denver or Atlanta. Sometimes just overnight, sometimes 3 days. I never really questioned it. She'd text me updates. She'd send pictures of conference rooms and hotel lobbies. She'd come home tired. It seemed legit. But then things got weird. 2 months ago, I noticed her credit card bill was missing from our usual pile of mail. That's odd, right? We've always kept our finances pretty open, not combined accounts, but we show each other the big stuff. I asked her about it casually, like, hey, did the Amex bill come yet? She said, oh, I changed it to paperless. Fine, okay. But then last week I was looking for a screwdriver in the garage. I was digging through some boxes near the water heater, and I found an envelope. It was wedged behind a shelf. Inside was a credit card statement, Sarah's Amex, from last month. My hand started shaking. The charges were insane. $1,500 at a hotel in Las Vegas, $200 at a restaurant there, $400 at a jewelry store, another $1,500 the next day at a different hotel, in Phoenix. But the work trip she told me about that week was in Denver. I just stared at it. I read it like 5 times. The dates were clear. March 10th through 14th, Las Vegas and Phoenix, but she told me she was in Denver for a conference. I didn't say anything that night. I needed to think. I needed to be sure before I lost it. The next morning I pulled up her work calendar. I told her I was just checking when she'd be free for dinner. She leaned over and showed me. I'm actually clear all week, she said. Why? That's when I knew something was really wrong. I waited until the kids were at school. Then I sat her down in the kitchen. I had the credit card statement on the table. Sarah, I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest with me. She looked at the statement and her face went white. Where were you March 10th through 14th? I asked. I was at the conference, in Denver, she said, but her voice was shaking. No, you weren't. I have your credit card statement. You were in Las Vegas and Phoenix. You charged $1,500 to a hotel. You went to a jewelry store. Sarah, what the hell is going on? She stood up. She walked to the sink. Then, she turned around and looked at me. Her eyes were red. I need to tell you something, she said quietly, but you're not going to like it. Just tell me. I haven't been going to work conferences, she said. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? I mean, those trips, they're not real. I've been lying to you. And Dave, there's something else. There's someone else. Someone I've been seeing. And, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I looked down at it. The message said, tell him the truth or I will. Below it was a photo. It was Sarah, with another man, his arm around her waist. They were in front of a fountain, the Bellagio fountain in Las Vegas. I looked up at Sarah. She was staring at my face, watching me read the message. Who just texted me? I asked. She went pale, like actually pale. She sat back down. That's not possible, she whispered. Who is it, Sarah? She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed my phone out of my hand and looked at the message. Then she looked at me with pure fear in her eyes. Dave, I don't know who that is. That's not his number. That's not anyone I gave your number to. Someone else knows. Right then, another text came in. This one had a video file attached. Sarah saw it and literally put her hand over her mouth. Don't watch that, she said. Please don't watch that. Why not? She was shaking now, actually trembling. Because whoever this is, they have been following me. And they have everything, Dave. I found out my fiancée has been sending $1,200 a month to her ex for 2 years, and she's been lying about where the money goes. Let me back up. My name is Marcus. I'm 32, and I've been with Sarah for 5 years. We got engaged last year. Everything felt perfect. We had plans. We were saving for a house. We talked about kids. The whole future mapped out. But then I noticed something weird on our shared bank account. Every month, like clockwork, $1,200 would go out to someone named David. I asked Sarah about it once. She said it was for her gym membership and some online courses. I didn't think much about it. I trusted her. Then last month I was looking for a receipt in the files on her laptop. I needed to check something about our mortgage pre-approval, and I found a folder called D Stuff. Inside were emails, thousands of them, going back years. I shouldn't have read them. I know that now, but I did. David is her ex. They dated for 3 years before we met, and he's been asking her for money the entire time we've been together. Not just asking, begging, saying he couldn't pay rent, saying he was going to get evicted, saying he had nowhere else to turn. And Sarah kept sending it. I called her that night. She was at work. I told her to come home, now. When she walked in, I didn't even say hello. Why are you sending David money every single month? I asked. Her face went white, like she couldn't breathe for a second. Marcus, I can explain. Explain what? That you've been lying to me for 2 years, that you've been giving away $28,800 of money we're supposed to be saving for our future? For a house we want to buy together? It's not like that, she said. She was crying now. He was struggling. He had nowhere to go. I couldn't just let him end up on the street. Sarah, we're engaged. I'm supposed to be the person you share things with, the person you turn to, and instead you're secretly sending money to your ex. Do you understand how that sounds? I know it sounds bad. Bad? It's not bad. It's a betrayal. You lied to my face every single day. Every time I asked about our savings, you smiled and said we were on track. Every time we talked about the down payment, you acted like we had a plan. Meanwhile, you're throwing away our money on someone who dumped you 5 years ago. She tried to explain. She said David was going through a rough time. He lost his job. He had debt. He was depressed. And she felt responsible because they dated so long. That's not your job, I said. That's not your responsibility. You have a responsibility to me, to us, to our future. I was going to tell you, she said. I didn't know how. I was scared you'd leave. So instead you lied. For 2 years, you chose him over me. She didn't have an answer for that. I told her I needed space. I went to my brother's house that night. Just sat there thinking about everything. About the ring. About the house we were supposed to buy. About the wedding we were planning for next spring. The next day I called my lawyer. I told him what happened. He said to document everything. So I did. I printed out all the emails, all the bank statements, everything. When I showed Sarah what I found, she broke down. She said she'd stop. She said she'd tell David no more money. She said she'd do whatever it took to fix this. But I couldn't get past it. I couldn't stop thinking about all those lies, all those moments where she looked me in the eye and told me something that wasn't true. I told her I was calling off the engagement. She begged me not to. She said she made a mistake. She said people make mistakes. She said I was throwing away 5 years for one bad decision. But it wasn't one decision. It was 24 decisions. 24 months of choosing to lie. 24 months of choosing him. I moved out 2 weeks ago. The ring is with my lawyer. The house deposit is frozen. Sarah's still trying to contact me, but I don't answer. Last week I found out she's still sending David money. Smaller amounts now, but still sending it. I guess some things don't change. I'm done.